So there's a story out at CNN this morning. I guess NBC is reporting it too, and it says that Donald Trump, that evil, mean man running for president who was evil and mean to a lot of his fellow Republicans and now being mean to Hillary Clinton, to Latinos, to Muslims, to blacks, to women, you name it, that he is calling for profiling of potential terrorist threats. Although I don't think Trump ever used the word profiling anywhere in the last couple of days. So it seems to me that media might be jumping the gun on that one. On the other hand, I know a great many Americans out there who would say, you mean would that stop these guys? And go ahead. Yeah, sure. 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com. Remember, from the media's perspective, though, you're all just a bunch of dumb dummies, and they're really smart because, well, they've interviewed some smart people from time to time, and that apparently makes them smart by osmosis. You sit down in a room with a smart person for 20 minutes, ask a few questions, you walk out of there apparently borrowing some of their brains. Just ask your reporter friends if that's how it works. I'm sure they'll tell you it's true. I want to thank you for joining me this morning. Some of the things we have coming up. Steve Millington between 8:30 and 9 o'clock this morning. Chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party joins us most mornings between 8:30 and 9. I also believe that Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs is going to be joining us. The White House today is putting out, and we'll hopefully get a chance to talk to him about this, the White House is putting out new guidelines for trial lawyers and prosecutors around the country, suggesting that we shouldn't be using as much DNA evidence or evidence that is collected from fire scenes because too many arsonists and too many killers and rapists are being unjustly sentenced to prison. And then usually in prison, they can't go vote for Democrat candidates. Well, unless they're in Virginia and California, I suppose. But at the moment, most places, it's harming their ability to vote for Democrats. So the White House would like us to get rid of a lot of our current scientific evidence so that we can then turn these people free on the streets. Well, they're all just victims in the first place. Just ask any Democrat or ask any criminal, or I guess I'm redundant. Got this today that I've got to mention very quickly off the top of the program. Washington Free Beacon. Now, we have not heard a lot from Ted Cruz since the Republican National Convention, but I'm still very glad that he is still serving in the U.S. Senate. The headline is Cruz calls for end to U.S. refugee program following multiple terror attacks. Senator Ted Cruz, it reads, is calling for an end to the Obama administration's Middle East refugee program following a series of weekend attacks that appear to be acts of terrorism, according to a statement provided to the Washington Free Beacon. Now, I was in as I said, an argument. I think I mentioned this yesterday on the air. I was in an argument over the course of the weekend on Facebook with some people about how harsh we should be about all of this. And I guess I wasn't perhaps as nice as I could be with them. But, I'm sick and tired of people thinking that I'm their personal spokesman. I am not. And I did mention that you have a number of people around the country, Republican governors. I don't think that any Democrats were getting on board with this, but you had something like 19 or 20 Republican governors around the country say that they no longer wanted to participate in this program. One of those governors was Butch Otter. Another was the governor of Indiana, Mike Pence. In fact, some newspaper reporter said last weekend that Indiana wasn't taking any more refugees because Pence refused. Well, that's not true. These governors say that they don't want to participate in the program, but they don't have any power apparently to stop it. That's what we're hearing. So, I don't know. If Pence was able to stop it, then I guess Butch Otter would be able to stop it. But I have not yet had a chance, obviously, to speak to Mr. Pence one-to-one, so I don't know if there was some sort of legerdemain that he employed in order to bring it to a stop in his state. Or if indeed, perhaps the reporter is wrong. Well, reporters are never wrong. Just ask them. We stand by our story. That's just a euphemism for we're consulting with our lawyers while we pee ourselves over the threat of being sued. I just believe, though, that the governors who came out and made those statements, and it's good that they're on the record saying that, but I don't believe they've stopped anything. And I'm beginning to worry and I'm beginning to fear that they think that that's enough. That coming out and saying, well, we're against this particular program, I'm glad to hear it. Now what? Well, I'm on the record as saying we're against this program. Yes, but now what? Well, I'm on the record as, no, come on, what are we going to do now? And who in Washington do we have to pressure to bring this thing to an end until we get it straightened out. Now, I am not, by the way, opposed to people come here all the time, and we need bright people. We need people who can be good scientists who may someday cure cancer. We need people who can build rocket ships that we shoot into space. All of these things are important, and we need brains in this country, because right now, when you consider the strength of the public school system, oy vey, we have to have some people who can come here and fill those roles that we no longer fill because we're teaching all of our children basket weaving instead of hard sciences, mathematics, and the like. And there's a new culture in our schools that says it's they're proud to be stupid is what they are. However, we don't want people coming here who will do bad things. And we're hearing, well, this young man was radicalized after going overseas, but he'd already lived here a long, long time. I don't care. I don't want any of this here. I'd like to be able to walk down the street without thinking that some goon is going to blow off a pressure cooker next to me. I kind of like my skin. I don't want it pockmarked with nails, BBs, and shards of glass. I've been wearing it now all of my life. I'd like to keep it for the few days that I still have left and have a natural end to my life versus somebody else like that making the decision for me. So how do we apply that pressure and stop them? Well, the simplest way to do that is to elect Donald Trump. Because if it truly is only on the national level that we can bring this under control, then that is going to have to be the option that we take, whether you like Trump or not. And a lot of Republicans out there, we just heard this morning that the old man Bush says he's not going to be voting for Trump. Who cares? Number one, of course, I can understand why he wouldn't after Trump, made his son look like such a complete fool during the primaries. I don't know that that was really all that difficult, but I can see why he wouldn't vote for him. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, if George H.W. Bush doesn't like it, well, I guess I don't either. It's not going to have any influence over me whatsoever. Democrats apparently think that we're all so stupid over on the Republican side that we'll all walk in lockstep and follow along with whatever George H.W. Bush and some of the other swells in the party decide to do. Well, if that was the case, why did Trump end up winning the nomination? It's 8:14. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com. Trump was speaking last night on the O'Reilly Factor on Fox News Channel and said, the problem with the Obama White House and its extension, Hillary Clinton, is that they don't really have a strategy for winning a war.
We don't win. We can't beat ISIS. Can you imagine General Douglas MacArthur or General Patton? Can you imagine? They're spinning in their grave right now when they see the way we fight. We announce that we're sending certain people over here at a certain time. Everything's political. It's very, very sad. Then we bombed the Syrian troops. You saw that over the weekend. We bombed. I guess we killed more than 80 troops, and now Russia's absolutely furious at us. But we bombed the wrong people. I mean, we're like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Our country, with this leader, is the gang that couldn't shoot straight. That's what it is.
I think that he's very eloquent in that situation, and we don't normally think of Donald Trump as being eloquent, but I think he hit the nail right on the head when he brought that up last night. What's the whole point of this thing? The White House press spokesman yesterday says, well, it's a war of narratives. Huh? What are you people talking about? And then Hillary says, oh, Mr. Trump should be quiet because if he keeps talking that way, the enemy isn't going to like us. No, they don't already like us. I mean, they hate us. They're setting off bombs on our streets and attacking people in shopping malls. Mrs. Clinton, what in blazes are you talking about? I don't ever recall from my reading of history, and I've talked to my parents too about it. I say my parents, God bless them. They were wonderful people, but they grew up in all of that. And they told me, that it was, nobody ever went around saying, well, if we'd only be nice to Mr. Hitler, maybe he would stop killing those tens of millions of people. Or if we were only a little nicer to Hirohito and Tojo, maybe they would stop dropping bombs and starving our men and force marching them through the jungles of the Philippines. No, we hated them. And we demonized them. I don't know that you had to work too hard to do it, but the fact of the matter was they were the enemy. And the ISIS people who are burning people in cages, drowning people in cages, beheading small children, blowing up small children, raping little girls, they're pretty dang demonic too. I don't care if they don't like it. I just want to kill them. Every last one of them, if need be, to save the planet. Telephone number 736-0300. You're up next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on Top Story. Go ahead.
Bill, here is something to think about, and that is if the bombs would have gone off at that Marine Corps run Saturday morning, and the other bombs that were discovered in New York would have gone off, that the number of people killed might have been way more than the number of people killed by that truck driver over in France.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to sit here and say, well, the system worked because nobody died. Well, if the bombs had gone off at the train station in New Jersey, you could have had hundreds of people dead. If the bomb had gone off after the run had started, as he points out, you could have had a lot of American heroes killed. The fact of the matter is we came through the weekend with 39 who were wounded. That still seems to me to be a little excessive. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be walking around the mall and having somebody trying to slice me up. Well, he only cut me in a couple of places, so I guess I'm fine. 817, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. And the Democrat Party is just filled with nothing but wimps from the top down, from the White House to the current candidate for president, to every last one of them that I hear blabbering on television about this or that I meet on the street. This notion that if we were only just nicer to people. And then they went out, and what they did is they got this whole thing in Syria started because they wouldn't support Assad as he was trying to kill these bad guys, which was what he was trying to do. They undermined him. They helped foster this civil war that's going on. They got rid of Gaddafi, who had been on our side going all the way back to 9/11. Just after 9/11, he made the switch and said, I'm going to help you guys. I don't want to be associated with this any longer. We got him killed. We went in there, these Democrats did, and they took a big stick and they started beating aside the bee's nest. And this is the result of all of that. And then they say, well, we have to take these refugees in because of these wars going on now, these migrants, because it would be compassionate. And if you don't agree, you're a hater. No, I'm not. And if you hadn't been so incredibly incompetent in the way you dealt with foreign affairs, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all right now. It's 8:19. I have to take a short break. We've got more coming up in a couple of minutes and more of your telephone calls as well. Bill Colley with you. Hillary Clinton, she faced the tough questions last night on The Tonight Show. So, Hillary, how's the grandchildren? Oh, they're fine. Really? Oh, how are you feeling lately? Oh, I'm feeling much better. I can open a jar of pickles. Oh, how's the husband? Well, he's still catting around, but otherwise he's doing a pretty good job out there on the campaign trail when he remembers to shut his mouth. Well, thank you very much, Hillary. Good to see you, and good luck, my fellow traveler. We've got plenty more on the way. Bill Colley with you on KLIX. I want to remind people quickly, tomorrow morning between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, we're going to be joined by one of the medical professionals from Tripp Family Medicine here in Twin Falls, Idaho, taking some of your questions about your health concerns. We do this every week. There's a slogan they have. It says, life's too short not to feel good. I've got to agree with that, and I want to point out as well, too, they're still looking for new patients, and you can often get in to see the doctor or one of the affiliates within the same day if you have an issue that you come across when you get up in the morning. And we need to remind you the office is located right here in Twin Falls on Fillmore Street, directly across from the main post office. I mentioned Hillary Clinton appearing on The Tonight Show last night. Listen to this crowd applaud this. What is she actually saying?
I want a country where barriers are knocked down and little girls and little boys can feel like they can go as far as their hard work will take them without regard to race and ethnicity and religion and gender and sexual orientation and all of that.
Oh, wow. If everybody would just light a candle, the whole world would be brighter. Did she go out there and then rub them on the tops of their heads so they all felt better about that? Maybe patted their bellies a little bit? And listen to the liberals eat those bromides up. I mean, she didn't say anything. Oh, I want a country where everybody is happy. I want a country where everybody has their needs met. I want a country where everybody can get everything for free that they've always desired. Okay, and they all, who's paying for it? Well, I don't know, maybe the new refugees, after they blow up a couple of stores, but, they'll take care of it otherwise. Yeah, we need to have another few 100,000, maybe a few million. We have a caller with us. Caller, you're on the air. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on KLIX. Go ahead.
Yeah, it'd be kumbaya, that's for sure. But anyway, appreciate your column in the paper today. And made some really good points. I want to point out that the shooter, the bomber that got captured and wounded, he spent a whole year or more overseas in radical Pakistan, I believe it was, and so one of his best friends, he got religion. Well, what does that mean? He became religious. Well, I guess it meant somebody pointed out or had him read the Quran about those 100+ verses that says, if you want to get those 72 virgins, you better, kill some infidels. And that's exactly what the radicalization means, or getting religion in with Islam. It's not a religion of peace. It's a theocracy of, in my opinion, hate and murder. That's been the history of it, really, when you boil it down to it. So anyway, I appreciate your column very much, and I look forward to reading that every Tuesday.
Well, next Tuesday, thank you for the call. Next Tuesday, it's going to deal actually with this subject, or it should. I need to mention that I've written 4, only 1 has appeared. So we're kind of going week by week to see what's most timely, but I wrote yesterday about this issue, so that should be what we see next week. It's 8:27. Bill Colley with you on Top Story. Hey, just a quick note. Speaking of Democrats, Charlie Crist, former governor of Florida, it's always good to say former when you're talking about someone like him. He was at a debate last night. He's running for Congress, challenging a sitting Republican, and the moderator wanted to know if he would be voting for his good friend Hillary Clinton. Take a listen to the crowd reaction.
I represent. You voting for your party's nominee, Governor?
I am proud of Hillary Clinton. I think she's been a very good Secretary of State, a very good senator from the state of New York. The thing I like most about her is I believe that she is steady. I believe that she is strong. I believe that she is honest, and I look forward to voting for her.
Governor Crist?
Governor Crist, that must be some pretty good dope you're smoking. Can you share some of that with us? 8:28 now. Bill Colley with you on Top Story. I just want to remind you, if you're listening this morning, I thank you, but if you're having difficulty listening, you need to get in touch with our good friends at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert. Dr. Christine Pickup was in studio with us a couple of weeks ago, and of course, she can help you out. She can help restore that hearing. Did you know that your hearing health and your brain health are connected? She's, by the way, been studying the research on cognitive health and hearing. Most recent findings prove that when hearing loss is addressed with hearing aids, the effects of cognitive decline are greatly diminished. Hearing is critical for communication, for connection to others, and for overall well-being. Now is the time to improve your hearing. You can call Mount Harrison Audiology for an appointment. Number 312-0957. Quickly, before we get to the break, and then we'll be joined by Steve Millington in just a moment, I've got this from the Daily Caller today, and it says 3 tweets that explain the Obama policy toward terrorism and the war. This is President Obama. This is from ABC News. The quote is, if you see something suspicious, then you need to say something. Well, Big Brother's out there watching, I suppose. In other words, wouldn't that be profiling? But then just below it, it says, there's an old tweet here that says, good clock, Ahmed. Want to bring it to the White House? We should inspire more kids like you to like science. It's what makes America great. So that was a different story. Somebody saw something. Remember Ahmed the clockmaker, or Ahmed the clockmaker, and they turned him in? Now he is suing. There's a third tweet here from the New York Times that says Ahmed Mohammed, the Muslim teen who was handcuffed for making a clock, is suing his former school district and city. So who are we supposed to turn in when we see something? And this notion that profiling is mean-spirited, yet the president says we should do it, unless, of course, it's somebody who might be a good Democrat Party soldier or whose family might be. 8:30. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's 54. Steve Millington, chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party, joins us in just a few minutes.